a soul of righteousness and obtains eternal peace. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. We should all keep this verse written in our hearts, and in particular the second part of this verse, that O son of Kunti, Arjuna, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. Shri Krishna is giving such a big assurance that a person who has changed his decision and becomes his devotee, then immediately this person becomes a soul of righteousness and obtains peace forever. This person obtains a peace that has no end. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna in the second part of this verse to know that the Lord's devotee never perishes and never gets destroyed. Look at the confidence with which Shri Krishna is saying this. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna just to make the decision and have it absolutely clear in his mind that the moment when a person turns to the Lord with a pure internal resolve, then such a person never perishes. This is a root difference between ethics and religion. Ethics only look at outer conduct, whereas religion looks at inner transformation. Ethics looks at the social perspective, whereas religion looks at the perspective of the Supreme Soul. That is why living one's life according to moral conduct is easy, whereas to live a religious life is difficult. This is the root difference between ethics and religion. Ethics is definitely a part of religion, because a person who is totally immoral and unethical cannot become religious, but religion is higher than ethics. Ethics will only say that one should not downgrade another person, whereas religion says that one should not downgrade oneself. This is because when one goes to downgrade another person, then by outside conduct, it looks as if one is downgrading another person, but actually one is downgrading one's inner self, because the same God is residing in the other person as the God that is residing in him. How can you cheat others without cheating yourself? A person cannot cheat others without cheating oneself. It is not possible to cause damage to others without causing damage to oneself. This is not impossible. That is why when one goes to cause damage to others, then actually one is causing damages to oneself. Religion says that one should not cause damage to others for the reason that one should not cause damage to oneself. When one goes to commit violence against others, then the demonic attitude arises in one, and this is such a big damage to oneself. When one goes to rob another person, then one loses one's authenticity, and this is such a big damage to oneself. That is why it is impossible to downgrade others without downgrading oneself. It is impossible to damage others without damaging oneself. We understand the word swat to mean selfishness, but if we try to look for the real meaning, then swat is a very great thing. It can be broken up into swa and artha, the meaning of one's nature. Swa, self, and artha, meaning of one's own nature. Religion shows where the greatness in oneself is and how one can develop oneself. Shri Krishna has spoken about a very great thing in this verse, that once one has changed his decision, then he becomes a dharmatma. Shiparam bhavati dharmatma. Sharmatma means a person whose soul Sharmatma means person whose soul is in righteousness. Dharma chitta eva, and dharma atma chitam yasya saha dharmatma means a person whose soul is in righteousness. The Supreme Soul has said this thing over and over through various incarnations, that once a person turns to me, then he is mine. Sri Ramchandra Ji says in the Ramayana that Saku Deva Papanaya Tavasmiti Cha Yachate Abhayam Sarva Bhutebhyo Dadam Tem Vatam Mama. If a person even slightly seeks refuge in me and asks me that he be mine, I give all creatures fearlessness, and a person who changes his decision changes his life. The principle is such that there is a link with the last verse, that the person who is of the most vile conduct immediately becomes a soul of righteousness. This is what Shri Krishna is trying to say here. When a person is rightly resolved, then even if he was a person of the most vile conduct, he will immediately become a soul of righteousness. This is what Shri Krishna is saying. There is a reason behind this, that when the performer changes, then the actions immediately change themselves. This is the principle. By the performer changing, the actions also change. If I were to give an example using simple language, then let us say that there is a housewife making, or house husband making curry every day. However, one day the mother-in-law makes curry, and because someone else has made the curry, the person eating the curry immediately says that the person making the curry has changed. When the performer changes, then the actions also change. this is very natural. The person had done the same thing by making curry for 4 or 5 people. The mother-in-law had taken the ingredients for the curry and the same boxes that her daughter-in-law used to make. The mother-in-law uses the same chilies as her daughter-in-law used, but because the hands changed, the taste also changes. This is an ordinary principle that when the performer changes, then the actions also change. In the same way, when the attitude of the performer changes, and the feelings in the heart and the sense of the doer change, then the actions immediately change themselves. Let us compare the two words. The first is papatma, the soul of unrighteousness, and the second is dharmatma, soul of righteousness. In the last verse, the 30th verse, the word sudachara, meaning the person of the most foul conduct, was used, and such a person is called papatma, soul of unrighteousness. Then we have dharmatma, soul of righteousness. If we try to look at them from the root, then they are both pure. Papatma, soul of unrighteousness, is pure, and dharmatma, soul of righteousness, is also pure. Purity is not something that's going to come from the outside, that is inside. The soul is pure because papatma, soul of unrighteousness, and dharmatma, soul of righteousness, are just differences of characteristics. The soul remains the same, and the soul itself is pure. Why does the soul become papatma, soul of unrighteousness? Why does the soul become a sinner? There is only one reason for this. When it created a relationship with the material world, then it became a papatma, soul of unrighteousness, and after reaching certain states, it understood that it is not a part of the material world, but a part of the Lord, and the moment when the relationship with the material world breaks, then swiftly does it become a dharmatma, a soul of righteousness. It was bitten by the material world, but the bite does not become part of one's skin. How long can a stain stay on a piece of clothing? Until one does not know about this stain. Does this not happen many times when a stain comes on one shirt, where they are thinking, for example, wet paint, and one just gets up and begins walking because they do not know about the stain? Then someone draws this to their attention that there's a stain on the back of the shirt. As soon as they find out about the stain, then they immediately go home and remove the stain from the shirt. If this stain goes away, then it is fine. Otherwise, they will replace the shirt. How long can a stain stay on a piece of clothing? Until one does not know about the stain. In the same way, how long can the impurity of the material world stay? Until one does not know about it. When one finds out about it and the bondages break, then swiftly does one become a dharmatma, soul of righteousness. Immediately at that very moment does the person become a dharmatma, soul of righteousness. When one becomes a dharmatma, soul of righteousness, then one obtains shashvat santim, lasting peace. This is eternal peace. Shashvat nityam shantim cha upashnam nigati tapnoti. Ramanujacharya says that such a person attains to an eternal state free from conduct contrary to the attainment of his self. Shashvatim apuna vartatim ma papti virodi achara nivrutim gachati. Such a person cannot even perform conduct that prevents one from attaining the Supreme Soul, or one does not perform conduct that stops one from attaining the Supreme Soul. Ramanujacharya says further that one attains a peace that one does not have to come back to the material world. Nittaram gachati iti na gachati. I like the second part of this verse very much. I always say that you should keep repeating this part of this verse every day, and these auto-suggestions will have a very beautiful effect, and had a very beautiful effect in my life. Kuntaya pachinati name bhakta panashyati. O Son of Kunti, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna to know for certain that his devotee never perishes. Shri Krishna has shown this during many moments in his life. Once one has held Shri Krishna's hand and has held the hand of the Supreme Soul, then how can such a person perish? Great saints make a very beautiful point regarding this part of the verse. I like it very much, and therefore I'm telling it to you. The words Tvam Prajanati, know you for certain, are very important. Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna to know for certain. Shri Krishna could have just said for certain that his devotee never perishes, but Shri Krishna did not say that. What Shri Krishna means is that Arjuna should know for certain, and that is why he has used the word Tvam, you, before the word Pratinajihi, know for certain. Why does Shri Krishna say this? It is a very melodious thing for Shri Krishna to say. If Shri Krishna had said for certain himself, then Arjuna would immediately have asked, how much faith should we have on Shri Krishna's certainty? People find it difficult to have faith like the people who live in Vraj do. Vraj is a town where Shri Krishna grew up in modern Uttar Pradesh in India. People living in Vraj have the habit, even today, of asking for certainty on every little thing by saying, I promise you this, or you promise me this. Arjuna would have said to the Lord that, I will not be able to rely on your promise because throughout your life you have made many promises and you have broken some of them. When you were a child, then you promised your mother Yashoda so many times that you would not steal Makhan clarified butter, and yet you still stole it. You broke these promises. When you went to Mathura, then your father Nanda Baba made you give so many promises about the route you should take, the fact that you should not touch anyone, and that you should not sit in anybody's house. You gave so many promises, and you broke all of these promises when you went to Mathura. You beat the washerman. Therefore, God, I do not feel as if I can really depend on your promises. You keep promises and breaking them. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, what you are saying is correct. I have broken promises in the past, and I am going to break some promises during this war. Because the Gita was said on the first day of the Mahabharata war, Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, you do not know, but I know that I am going to break some promises. I have made a promise that I will not pick up a weapon during the war, but I will pick up a weapon to attack Bhishma on the third day, when I will run with my discus in my hand to attack Bhishma. I am going to play many tricks during this war. I will instruct Yudhishthira to tell Drona that Ashwatthama is dead. Ashwatthama Narava Kunjarova. I will do many things like this. But Arjuna, that is why I am telling you to hear, and that you should know for certain. This is because the whole world knows that you never break your promises. Look at Shri Krishna's Leela, his divine games. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna that the whole world knows that Arjuna has never broken his promises, and therefore Arjuna should know for certain. Arjuna may ask, Lord, in what way can I make promises for you? I can make a promise for myself, for example, that I will protect a person, but how can I make a promise based on something you have said? Because you break your promises. Shri Krishna says to Arjuna that I break promises for myself, and the reason why I break these promises, so that the promises of my devotees can be protected. You make the promise so that even if my promises break, if you could take this in reality, then it will be widely known that my devotees never perish, because it is a promise made by you, and make sure it becomes true. Great souls explain this very beautifully. Because God has said this, God has been given a lot of freedom. If a demon such as Hiranyakashipu performs penances and gets God to give him a promise that he cannot be killed on water or land, in his home or outside, with weapons or without weapons, during daytime or during nighttime, so that he can never be killed, then God says, so be it. God has made a promise that Hiranyakashipu can never be killed, but kills Hiranyakashipu himself in order to protect his devotee Prahlad, so that his devotee never perishes. This is how Arjuna's promise. This is now Arjuna's promise that needs to be protected. In order to protect Arjuna's promise, God breaks the promises he has made. This is Shri Krishna's Leela, divine play. How can a person outsmart Shri Krishna? They just cannot. There was a person who believed very strongly in non-violence. Every evening in his house, whenever moths, other insects or mice would come, then before using the medicines to kill insects and mice, this person would go casually to ask his neighbors first how they are doing, and then suddenly in the middle of a conversation he asked whether he should use the insect and mouse spray. The neighbors would say that he should use the insect and mouse spray. He would ask his neighbors every day whether he should use the spray, and the neighbors would always say that he should use the spray. Then he would go inside his house and use the spray. One day a person had a question about why this man was asking everyone, and he answered that it is because I would incur sin, and therefore I go and ask others first about whether I should use the spray, and because others would tell me to use the spray, others will get all the sins. This is because they gave him the instructions. They gave me the order and I sprayed based on the orders. I have not sprayed the spray myself. Krutva Karita Anumodita. The spiritual meaning of this is very controversial, but Shri Krishna is saying something in this verse that completely opposes this. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna to know for certain yourself. In order to protect this promise of yours, I will take back all the words I have said and break all the promises that I have made if needs be. That is why this verse is very melodious. This is the Leela divine play of Purna Purushottama, the complete incarnation of Shri Krishna. If you read it for the first time, then you might find it strange that Shri Krishna is getting Arjuna to know for certain that Shri Krishna's devotee and the Supreme Soul's devotee never perishes. And this is the reason behind it. Know you for certain that Shri Krishna's and the Supreme Soul, Shri Krishna's devotee and the Supreme Soul's devotee never perishes. If there are sentences of the Gita that you should write and keep in the walls of your houses, of course, but also in the walls of your hearts, then this is one of them. If it is possible, then write this on a piece of paper and keep it in your house so that you look at it over and over again. Kuntaya Prajinati Name Bhakta Panashyati. O son of Kunti, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. The reason for this is that many moments will come in life while one is on the path of the devotion and penances where one's courage is broken. When we are performing sadkarma good deeds and it turns out that people around us are trying to break our support, at that time, remember these words of Shri Krishna. Kuntaya Prajnati Name Bhakta Panashyati. O son of Kunti, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. It gives us a fresh encouragement and a fresh awareness. It gives one a positive attitude in life. A person who goes on the right path never perishes. Another small thing in this verse is that in the 63rd verse of the 2nd chapter of the Gita, Jay, you remember, Shri Krishna said, Buddhinashat Panashyati, meaning from the destruction of the intelligence he perishes. Shri Krishna was describing a person who was Sthitaprajna, settled intelligence, and then explained how a person perishes. Sangat sanjate kamam, kamat kodo vijiyate, kodo bhavati samoha, samoha smriti viprama, smriti bhavashat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. From attachment springs desire, and from desire comes anger, from anger arises bewilderment, from bewilderment loss of memory, and from loss of memory the destruction of intelligence, and from the destruction of intelligence he perishes. This is in the 62nd and 63rd verses of the 2nd chapter of the Gita. Shri Krishna says that such a person perishes from the destruction of the intelligence. However, here in this 31st verse of the 9th chapter, Shri Krishna has said that my devotee perishes never. The word Pranashyati was used in these verses in the 2nd chapter, and the word Pranashyati is used again in this verse as follows. Do a table with 3 columns and 3 rows, including the heading columns, okay? In the first column and the first row, put location in the Gita, and then at the top of the second column, first row, Sanskrit words, and then in the final column, English translation as a header. Okay, beginning in the second row, the first cell in the second row, put down 63rd verse of the 2nd chapter. 63rd verse of the 2nd chapter, and now the very middle cell in that table, in the Sanskrit word Buddhinashat Pranashyati. Okay, and then the last cell in that second row, from the destruction of the intelligence he perishes, as the English translation, from the destruction of the intelligence he perishes. Now in the bottom row, the first cell on the left, 31st verse of the 9th chapter. Now middle cell, Name Bhaktya Pranashyati, and then the very bottom right hand cell, my devotee perishes never, English translation. How does one perish? From the destruction of the intelligence. Who does not perish? The Supreme Soul's devotees. What is the logical meaning behind these two? Anyone spot the logic here? The meaning of this is that if one tries to place this logically, then Shri Krishna is saying that the intelligence of my devotees is never destroyed. You see this? The intelligence of my devotees is never destroyed. Shri Krishna says here that his devotees never perish. If it is true that one has a heart disease, then they will die, and then elsewhere it is said if one has pomegranate juice, then they will not die, then we can deduct from this meaning that drinking pomegranate juice does not lead to heart disease. This is simple logic. In the same way, if one perishes from the destruction of one's intelligence, and the devotees of the Supreme Soul never perish, then we can deduct from this that the intelligence of the devotees of the Supreme Soul can never be destroyed. If there was one thing that was the biggest fruit of devotion, then it is this. No matter if you have everything else such as beauty, it is possible that your intelligence can be destroyed. Beauty causes a detriment to the intelligence. Even if you have knowledge, your intelligence can be destroyed. When a person has too much knowledge, we often say that he was a professor but he was mad. There are so many jokes like this about a mad professor. Even if a person has a lot of knowledge, his intelligence can still be destroyed. If a person has unlimited wealth, unlimited power, a lot of respect, and all of these things, then the person's intelligence can still be destroyed. But if one has devotion, then one's intelligence will never be destroyed. No matter if the material world says this person has lost the plot, a devotee's intelligence can never be destroyed. If I were to go one step further in the logic of this path of this chapter, then I will say what a person who does not perform devotion will certainly have his intelligence destroyed. If one's intelligence cannot be destroyed through devotion, then the meaning of this is that if one does not perform devotion, then the intelligence will be destroyed. Kabir had an example that I often say Guruji often says during his Srimad Bhagavad discourses. In the Manikarni Ghat of Kashi in India, the funeral rites of dead people would take place. It is a great saying that eating in Surat and dying in Kashi. Surat ma jame, Kashi ma mare. People believe that if one dies in Kashi and his cremation rites are taken there, then one gets an immediate ticket upstairs. It is said that the house of Kabir was near the Manikarni Ghat in Kashi. The reason why Kabirji became a metaphysician and a spiritualist is because his house was near the Manikarni Ghat in Kashi, by the riverside, where so many dead bodies were given their cremation rites during the day. One time, it so happened that Kabirji was climbing the steps to go up to the riverbank, and people were carrying a dead body on a plank from all four corners, chanting, "Hey Ram, Hey Ram, Hey Ram, Hey Ram." Kabirji put his hand up, and those people stopped because Kabirji had lifted his hand. Kabirji asked them what they were doing. They said that they were taking the dead body for the person's cremation rites. Kabirji said that this is fine, but what were they chanting? They said that they were chanting Ram, 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 chanting the name of God. Kabirji asked them why this was so. The people found it strange because Kabirji was a saint and understanding, and if a person dies, then they should chant the name of Ram. Kabirji said that this is all fine, but the person has died, and therefore that person should chant the name of Ram because it was that person's ceremony. Kabirji asked them why they were chanting the name of Ram. People told Kabirji that the person had died, and therefore that person can never chant, and that is why they were chanting. Kabirji said, "Oh, okay, he has died, and therefore he cannot chant the name of Ram, and because you are alive, you can chant the name of Ram. Then I will switch it around. Only such a person who is alive can chant the Lord's name, and a person who does not chant the Lord's name is like a dead body." What I mean to say is that the Lord's devotee never perishes because the intelligence of the Lord's devotee is never destroyed. Kuntaya prajinai name bhaktya pranashyati. O son of Kunti, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. This is a quote worth repeating over and over again. In fact, on the way to giving this lecture, and when Guruji gives this discourse, I read this quote over and over. You don't know how many times I've read this today. Kuntaya prajinati name bhaktya pranashyati. O son of Kunti, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. If one has feelings to Shri Krishna and faith in the words of Shri Krishna, then one should say this sentence over and over again. If one's lover has written a nice sentence in a love letter and suddenly one remembers this, then that sentence keeps echoing in one's ear. In the same way, the sentence from Shri Krishna is one that one should always echo in the heart of the Lord's devotee. Kuntaya prajinati name bhaktya pranashyati. O son of Kunti Arjun, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. The third meaning of this sentence can also be that perishing happens as a result of creating a relationship with a body, and this relationship is a relationship that one believes in. When one says perishing, then this means firstly death, which can only be of the body. A person who believes in a relationship with death thinks that he has perished, but this does not happen. When one's relationship with the body breaks, then it is not possible for him to perish. This is not only that, but after breaking one's relationship with the body and tying a relationship with the Lord, it is not possible for one to perish. If a child has held on to the fingers of the child's mother, then no matter where they have to go, the child does not have any fear. If the child has to go somewhere on the child's own, the child may have fear, but if the child is held onto the fingers of the mother's hand, then the child has no reason to fear. No matter how much traffic there is, and no matter where they have had to cross the road, the child knows that his hand is in his mother's hand, and that his mother is worrying about him, and therefore he has no reason to worry. Kunteya Pajanati Name Bhakta Panashyati. O son of Kunti, Arjun, know you for certain that my devotee perishes never. The 32nd and 33rd verses of this chapter are both worth talking about, so that we can break the controversy that people have created in relation to them. People have just misinterpreted these verses without understanding Shri Krishna properly, and without understanding the circumstances of the time in which Shri Krishna said these verses. Many people have spoken about these verses and have said wrong things about these verses. We will see in the next class what the 32nd verse of this chapter is all about. That will be the class